Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be rebuilding my Whimsically spooky 7-foot 9-inch trash tree that I made about 6 years ago. And previously in part 1 I showed you all how I made this spooky lantern, crescent moon spiderweb lantern from a thrifted bird feeder. If you haven't watched that, go ahead and check it out. I do hang that from the tree in this video. So now on to building the tree. Here is a before of the tree. You might have to rewind that and pause it if you want to see that. Sorry, I just had a picture of the full length, but this is a close-up look. So there's little injuries to the tree over all of these years. This is the first tree that I ever have created, and this was in the start of when my creativity started to blossom. I was inspired to make a tree like this, a big tree, after watching Alwyn Oak's video where she created a tree in her living room out of some cardboard and papier-mâché technique. But over the years, I've acquired my own techniques to building these whimsically spooky trees, and I just felt that this little guy, or big guy, needed some extra care and treatment to make him looking his most whimsically spooky self. So this is just all the stuff that I saved and acquired to build out the girth, I guess, of the tree. And that bag is a bag of my husband's old work shirts. So I thought these were perfect to use inside the tree for some weight. So I just taped those around the perimeter on the inside of the tree to give it more stability, along with all of the trash that I will be adhering to the external part of the tree. So now that those are all in place, I need a base. So I go ahead and I cut a couple of pieces of cardboard here, and then I just secure that on the bottom with some more tape there. So I guess I took 3 pieces. I thought it was only 2, but 3 pieces, and there we go, a strong base that is now closed. Now, my scissors were not strong enough to cut through these really thick bottles, so I did use my hot tool. Make sure if you do try that, you have good ventilation and maybe even a mask, because the fumes are quite toxic when you're cutting through plastic. So, you know, just use it with caution, and definitely, you know, leave a window open, do it outside, have a mask on if you're doing it indoors, but definitely by a window. That's what I had to do. And I put my air purifier on at the same time. It was just too fumey. Oof. So now that those are all cut in half, now I'm just taping everything on. Taping was far quicker, far better for me, compared to maybe hot gluing, you know, all of this trash on. Now that I have successfully adhered all of my trash to my tree on both sides, I go ahead and prop up the tree for the next step, which is taping. Now, this is the process that I do with all my trees just to make for a smoother base. And here everything is taped up, and I go back any little areas that have little openings. If you've noticed, I go and I put some more tape on those, so everything is completely covered. Now for the arms, this time doing something a little different compared to the very first time that I built this tree. I'm gonna use a pool noodle. This is a solid pool noodle. It's not hollowed out in the middle. And what I do is I just cut it. I wanted one side to be a little bit larger, and then I have a smaller limb on the other side, so I just cut that to size. And I'm using various cardboards and some foam and of course tape. So now I'm just building the width that I want for my largest branch, and I achieved that by just wrapping the foam and then I continue with building out with cardboard. What I decided to do here is cut the pull noodle, and I'm going to cut that, snip it off at an angle, which before I end up doing that, I end up building that width of the branch a little bit more through pieces of cardboard rounds that I have there from the old tape. And that way it gives more of an organic feel to the branch. I love trees so much because they just have so many different quirks about them. I mean, of course, it's going to depend on the tree, but if you're looking up close on how the branches grow and what they look like, and some are bendy, and if you have the bark has so much different design and textures, and I just love all of that. So if you decide to make any of these, a trash tree, just let the trash guide you. Let the tree have lumps and bumps, and that, I think, creates the organic, the whimsy feel of these trees. Now that I have all that taped up for my base, I'm going to go in with some chipboard from something that just came in the mail, and I'm just cutting strips, and that is going to be taped onto the exterior of my branch to create shape. I want more of a smoother shape, so I just built out the girth, and then now the cardboard is just going to help achieve that desired shape of the branch that I'm looking for. Now that I have everything taped, this is what it looks like. And I did leave that little nub at the end, and that there was a reason for that, just because I wanted that end to fit perfectly into the hole that I had already created. As you can see right there, I left that part exposed. And it'll make more sense once you watch further along in the process. So now I'm going in and I'm going to coat. I'm going to start all of my coating with my papier-mâché technique. So for this, I'm just doing a watered down glue, and then I chose to do bamboo, not tissue papers. I don't know why I'm losing my words for this video. Paper towels, there we go. So I'm just using bamboo paper towels. I like bamboo because it's stronger. It's just stronger in the material. So that's what I'm utilizing. You can use paper, tissue paper, whatever you have on hand. This is what I'm doing for my project. And so everything is coated and it's dried. You see the little hole there on that side, that's for one of the branches. And there's a hole on the other side for the other branch as well. So this is my smaller branch that I created with the same process you just viewed with my larger branch. He's a little quirky and I love it. So he has a unique shape to him. but I'm just showing you how that's gonna work. So now I'm getting some spray foam, and that's what I chose to put within the hole so I could connect the branch to the tree. And I just allowed that to set and to dry. And that gave really good hold compared to any other method of possibly using, hot glue. This just wouldn't be something that I would use hot glue or any other method for. I felt that this foam worked really well with adhesion with the branches because they are a little bit larger and they will hold weight on them. So now I'm just going in. Now I ultimately ended up using just a sharp knife from the kitchen just because I love this little tool, this little handheld saw that I have, but it just was a little bit too tiny, but it did the job initially, and I just finished it off with a knife from the kitchen to remove any excess that I just didn't want. Now that I have shaved off the desired amount of foam clay, I take the same glue mixture and I do the same paper macheing for both limbs. I don't show the process, but it's exactly the same. This is just the larger branch on this side. Do you like my little setup here? I had to get creative there with keeping it propped up. But here is the tree, and it has fresh paper mache, so that's not yet dried. But while that's drying, I skip ahead to the next step, which is adding bark-like texture to the exterior part of the tree. So I'm taking my air dry foam clay, and there's really no technique to this. You're just they're gonna look like little slugs, I guess. Which that's what my little one, she said it just looked like black slugs crawling up the tree. But don't try to get anything too smooth, and don't waste any time with trying to get too much detailed texture. There's just no point with foam clay because when it's drying, it puffs up. You just lose a lot of your detail. So if you wanted to do any detail, you'd have to wait after the clay is fully cured and then go in with some type of Dremel tool. But I wasn't going to do that, as you'll see what my next techniques will be. But for right now, I'm just coating the tree with this foam clay. Now, if you do decide to try building a tree, maybe not so large as mine, or maybe so, but if you don't want to use this technique of the foam clay for making ridges, I'm sure you can come up with other techniques using some type of paper product and glue mixture. I'm sure you can create this, but this just worked really well for me during this step, just because the air dry, the foam clay, it's lightweight, which is nice, and it dries really nicely. I didn't have to worry about possibly doing more of a papier-mâché technique, or mashed up paper with the glue mixture. That would have worked, but it would have taken a lot longer to dry out because of the water content in the product. But this took about 24 hours to really set and to be dry. If you do decide to use this foam clay method, just get real funky with it, with your bark patterns, because that's how real trees are. They have a lot of intricate little designs within their bark, and so you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have straight lines, get really wonky with your lines, but just be really creative if you do decide to go with this method. That took an exceptionally long time to do. But here is the tree completely coated with the air dry clay. You see all the different ridges and textures. You want to make sure you're giving it the allotted time to cure. It's about 24 to 48 hours to fully dry. And now I'm actually going to go over that. Now, don't worry, I'm not losing any of my texture by doing this, but it just brings everything in and makes it a little bit more cohesive. But I'm taking some bamboo toilet paper, not paper towels. The reason being is the toilet paper is a little bit softer, but it's still strong at the same time. I do prefer this over, say, a white type of toilet paper. That just seems a little too delicate, but this one has a little bit more strength in it. So I'm just doing the same technique, and we're gonna coat the whole tree this way. Okay, and here is everything coated and dried. So you see how it just makes everything a little bit more blended together, and that's what I was trying to go for, but you still see the texture from the foam clay, so that's good. And then you're seeing all the lumps and bumps and texture from just the different, bits and bobs that I put for the trash underneath, which I love because it gives the tree an organic feel and makes it, I don't know, even more whimsical. I just, I love trees so much. So I'm going in with this step here. I purchased this paper product. So it comes as a dried mixture and then you just add water. So it's a papier-mâché product. And I learned about this product, not this specific brand, but I did learn about this papier-mâché powder that you mix with water from another channel, which is a very great channel, but it's Mystical Makers Workshop. I believe that's the name, but she used this product when she was making a very large, amazing pumpkin. So I decided to give this a go. Now, I made a homemade product like this similar when I was making what I call my paper patties, but I made that such a long time ago, and that was by mistake. So I didn't have any video footage of that for the very first tree video that I made. I just had some leftover pieces of paper, or the textured paper that made for really great bark pieces. So the purpose of going in there and doing this is I don't do this on the full tree. It's just to create more texture. I'm looking for more of an organic bark-like texture. And even these areas that I smoothed out a little bit too much, I went in and roughed them up when I was all done. Now here's everything fully done and it's dried. You have to allow it the full amount of time to dry. I think I waited a day or so in between. I had to do the front and then I had to turn it over and do the back. in order to get all this done. So it took a bit of just applying and then waiting. But as you can see, I'm still have the texture from the foam clay, but then I have more of that, you know, gritty texture from the papier-mâché product. So now that everything's dry, I'm just going in as I always do. I love using my base color is black. It just adds a little bit more depth to whatever colors you're putting on top of it, so I opt to go with black color. Now I'm going to say this was quite tedious only because in my other two videos where I'm doing trees that are smaller than this, those ones were nice because I just took those out into the back and I just spray painted them. It was quick and easy. It was really time consuming having to brush all the color on and paint it, you know, in a traditional way. And so I'm just showing you I have a smaller brush there, paintbrush, where I'm getting in all the grooves. That was probably the hardest part, especially the papier-mâché product, because there was so much texture to it. I really had to coat that black paint onto those bits. And even after I was done doing the tree and the tree was finished, and upon inspecting, there were still little bitty white spots here and there that were popping up I had to fix. So now we have the tree is fully coated. That was weird with the color there because it looks gray. I don't know why the color is doing that with the lighting, but it is black. So now I'm going to go in and I have I think it was an espresso type of brown that I chose for the tree itself. So I'm just going to go in and I'm just painting it. Now I'm not fully coating it with this brown because I still want some of the black to poke through in certain areas just to give it depth and dimension. And even if there's an area where you paint over with the brown, you can do this step. This is another step that I'm doing. I'm taking watered down black acrylic and I'm just lightly going into any depressions within the bark, and I'm just painting that watered down black mixture to create more depth. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get as like realistic of a tree as possible with these different techniques. Now that I have done that to the whole entire tree, I go ahead for the last step for the tree, and that is just taking a lighter brown and I'm just dry brushing all of the high points of the bark. That way it just brings a little bit more light, and you definitely want more color variation. So once I do this to the full tree, he's all done, but you can't see him until the end. So now we are going to shift to making the swinging spirit. So I will show you the process of making the swinging ghosty. And here's all the materials. I use some cheesecloth material and some aluminum wire mesh, some rope. I have a ball, not a ball, it's a moon. So I have my moon, and the reason for that is just so I can form the aluminum mesh around that to make his head. And then some thick wire, which I did not use that, but I did use thin wire. And then some wooden veneer, some old cardboard, and then I have my fabric shears and my regular scissors, and then I have some super glue and some all-purpose white glue, which I love that one. So now we're going to start with making the swing first. So I'm taking the old cardboard, cutting a couple of pieces to size. It's just 2 pieces. You could do more than that if you like, if you want the illusion of the wooden swing to be thicker, but I thought this worked out just fine. I didn't use the other 2 pieces of cardboard, so I just glued those 2 pieces together. Once I have those two glued together, I secure them while they dry with some clamps, and then I set those aside. And then now once they're dried, I just go in with some thin chipboard from a recycled food box, and I want to clean up that rough edge, if you see there. So that rough edge of the cardboard, I want that to be smooth. So I'm going in and I'm just sizing what I need, and I'm doing that for all four sides. And then I will adhere that with some white all-purpose glue. Now you can see all of those edges, those rough edges, are covered up with that chipboard. And now the fun part is measuring out this wooden veneer. So I'm trying to make the appearance of a wooden swing. So I just decided to use some veneer strips, and then I'm gonna cut those to size, and I'm gonna do that all around the corners, the edges, and then I'm also going to do that for the top and the bottom. Once I have those measured out, I do apply them with some super glue, and then here's the finished product. Now, you don't have to worry about it not looking perfect. It's just supposed to be an old swing, so that's fine if it doesn't look, pristine. We're not trying to go for that. So that's everything all coated. Now I go ahead and I take my stencil and I'm trying to do some holes. Now, since I did not measure, I should have done that. My holes, when I cut them out, now I'm taking my little X-Acto knife and I'm cutting out the holes. I had to do that on the back side, and because I didn't measure, my holes didn't line up exactly, but it still worked out. So just make sure you're measuring if you want it precise, but it still fit through. Now the reason why I'm putting some masking tape at the end of the rope is just to keep the fibers nice and taut, and that way they go through your holes a lot easier. And you just remove that after the whole process is done. You can just take the tape off and voila. So I'm just doing that and sizing the rope for each side. Now I do want to mention I was inspired by my miniature creations to make this full-size creation for making a ghostie on a swing, just because if you're unfamiliar, I used to have a website that I sold a lot of my miniature ghost creations, and I have made a handful of little guys on swings, and so I thought that'd be so neat to make a full-size one to enjoy all year round. Now that I have my correct size of ropes fastened in, I take the same wood stain that I used for my spooky crescent moon lantern in part 1. I really love this rich brown color, and I use the same one, which is a water-based stain, and I go in, I coat everything, and then I just wipe it off after a minute is what the bottle says, but I love the depth that it gives. Now, if you watched the lantern video in part 1, I did use a wood conditioner before painting the stain on my wood and even the veneer. I opted not to use that this time around just because I wanted my veneer to remain adhered and flat and not to curl up in any areas just because anytime that you're adding moisture to the veneer, it's so thin, it will curl up. So, and I really wasn't looking for any perfect coloration when it came to applying this, which even so I didn't use the wood conditioner, it turned out very nicely. So I just go ahead and do that to the top, the bottom, and all of the sides. Now what I'm doing here is I'm taking some black acrylic and I'm doing some dry brushing. So make sure with your dry brushing, just try to take off as much of that excess paint off of your brush as possible. You don't want your paintbrush oversaturated. And you can, I dry brush a lot of the times just with my little paint plate that I use. But you know, you can do that with just an old rag or paper towel or whatever you have to wipe off on. But anyways, I want to create depth. Now, is this part necessary? Maybe not, just because the ghost is going to be sitting on it. You don't really see it too much, but you know, what if I don't have the ghost on there one day? I don't know. I mean, I love ghosts all year round and they're in our home all year round, but just say if I wanted to remove it for any purposes, I do have a finished swing underneath that looks very, you know, old and distressed. And I do that same dry brushing technique to the rope as well. So now everything is finished, looks aged. And now I'm going to go in and retie everything actually. So this is my new rope that I had to do. Oh, actually I just took the rope out. Excuse me. I took the rope out and then I just found it easier to do the dry brushing technique with the rope untied from the actual swing. So before you put your rope in, just make sure you do this beforehand. So here are both of my ropes. That's a before and after. You can see the difference. The before is a lot lighter, and I'm just trying to make it look a little bit more aged, like it's been outside a long time. So here is a look at the swing hanging. I still haven't taken the masking tape off the bottom, but I will end up doing that. And so it's adhered now to the smaller branch I have on the side. That just kind of gives you a look. I think it turned out really well. This is the first swing I've ever made, so I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Now we're going to move on to the ghost. And this is the first time I've made a ghost like this. This is the first time I've used some aluminum mesh, and I must say I don't like using this stuff at all. It's sharp, so I had to make sure I had some type of thicker gloves on. which you'll see right here, just because once you cut the edges, they're very, very sharp. So if you do decide to use this technique to make a ghost, just be very cautious, have gloves on. It actually adhered to my finger. That did not feel good, so I knew I had to put gloves on. But so I'm taking my moon and I'm just using it to shape out the ghost, its head on the top. I do apologize for the light switching different colors, and it just happened. It's a touch sensor, so it turned on while I was using it. So here we go. I just need more of that bulbous head shape. And so I'm just going in and trying to bend down the sides. And this is just for the head and the body. I do take another piece of aluminum and I fold it and then I wrap it around the back. I will show you that very shortly. And that is more of his sheeted arms, I guess you could say. So I know it looks a little funny, but that's his little meshy body. And the good thing though, there are his little arms. The good thing about using the mesh, I can say, is between the mesh and the cheesecloth material, it's really nice for illumination. So you will see that at the very end, so stay tuned. So what I'm using, I do use a very small gauged wire here, and I don't know what gauge that is, so, but it's just very thin wire, and I'm going in and I'm going to do more of a threading technique, attaching the main body to that piece of, mesh that's on top, and I just kind of curve it around as you see there, and I'm just going to do it to the other side, and that just keeps his arms, I guess you could say, attached to the body quite well. So right here, I'm just trying to mess with his arms. One, I did not do that evenly, so I had to cut off a little bit of one of his arms. So sorry, little dude. And so now I'm just trying to flare those pieces out. And you just, you're molding and messing with it a little bit. So that's what, it just kind of gives you an idea of what he looks like on the swing. And you just wrap the little arms around the rope. And I'm just taking it's a full piece of cheesecloth. That's just how I purchased it online. And I end up doubling it up and then draping it. Now, because you had little sharp areas of the aluminum from cutting it, there are little areas that got snagged, but I was fine with that. He doesn't need to look, perfect. He's cute. I think in hindsight, if I were to use the aluminum again, I think I was trying to think about what I would have done differently. I think I would have wrapped it in maybe some cellophane, some, clear cling wrap, and just wrapped the aluminum that way to keep all those little pokey bits away. But now I'm going in with some extra black felt, and I freehanded a shape of an eyeball. That's what I actually tend to do when I have created my ghosts that I've sold in the past, or the ghosts I still make for myself. This is just a style of eye that I do love for my ghosts. And I'm sure other people, if they've created ghosts, they've used the same, so I can't say it's my signature my eye design, but I like that it looks like a little teardrop shape. So I'm just evening those up, and I just apply those to him with some white glue, which once you get it all in position, just, stick those on with some glue. Now I still did mess with him a little bit, and here he is. Gives you a little look of him sitting. I did cut more of the cheesecloth on the bottom to make it look a little bit more torn. But there he is. I think he's just adorable. We love him so much. He's just so cute. But stay tuned to the very end to see. But now it's time for the reveal. So here is everything fully revealed. And I hope you enjoy. And here is the tree. And that's what it looks like, everything lit up. I did put fairy lights inside of the ghost. So I'm just going to give you a slow-mo here of, I put moss on, just some powdered moss on the tree as well. And those were vines I already had, and I just draped those on him. And then here's the ghosty all lit up. So it would have been nice to have a remote controlled lights on the inside, because now I have to lift up his little bum every time I want to turn the lights off and on. I mean, it's not a big deal, but... And then I have our little crows. So we have a whole little coven of crows in our home. So here's one, and I made a little witchy hat from some scrap fabric my aunt sent to me, and then another one there from fabric she sent me. And then I did not glue those crows down just in case I want to move them, so I just used some museum wax to secure them down so they didn't move. And then you did get the glimpse of the lantern. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was pretty long, so thanks for watching all the way through if you made it this far, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.